Hello and welcome everyone. Thanks for joining us for today's webinar. My name is Michael, and today I'm joined by my colleague Abby and my other colleague Tom, and we'll be talking to you today about how to build beautiful emails. Thanks all for joining. Please confirm whether you can hear me. And as we're kicking off and everyone's just getting seated, plugging their headphones in, I'd like to ask you where you're joining us from today. Today we're actually talking to you from Gdańsk in Poland. This is the first time I've been in the office for a couple of months, so this is exciting. Very happy to be here with you guys, and I can see people joining us from Cleveland, from Edinburgh, from Texas, Atlanta. Wow, okay, I can't keep up reading them. So thank you all for joining us today. I'm really excited to have you all. I think most of you have probably already joined us, so we can move on. So I'd like to start with sharing the housekeeping items and how we're going to go about today's webinar. So as per usual, we're going to do a 1-hour session. We'll be sharing the recording. I know this question appears a lot of times, and we'll be hearing it on chat later on as well for people that are joining us a bit late. But don't worry, we'll be sharing the recording along with the slides very shortly. Most likely we'll send it to you tomorrow. As for the webinar itself, the presentation, we'll be doing do's and don'ts of email design. Abby later on will be building an email from scratch right in front of you, and we'll do a live Q&A session afterwards. Awesome, I can see people from Sweden, from UK, Nigeria. Awesome. So let's get started. Thanks for joining us. So I'll start with a bit of theory on do's and don'ts of email design. And actually, before this webinar, we ran a survey among our customers, and I'd like to thank you all for participating in this, because all your points or your ideas will be used during today's webinar. So we'll be answering them throughout the whole presentation. We know what you are interested in, what topics you wanted to learn about. So once again, thank you for your answers. So let's start with the number one question that appeared, and how to get people to open your emails. This comes down to copywriting, email design, and everything. So to answer this question, honestly, you need to think about where your users, your recipients, are going to see your email. So your typical inbox, this is what emails look like when you first see them. So let's consider one email that appears at the top on my list. This is an email from Casper. The 3 elements that you can see are the from name, the subject line, and the pre-header. Arguably, these are the top 3 elements that play a role when it comes to affecting your open rate. So you need to focus on these elements, and there are some general best practices on all these elements. So for the from name, that needs to be memorable, needs to be trustworthy, and it should be consistent across all your campaigns. You want people to immediately recognize your brand and know that, okay, this is Casper, and I can trust these guys. I like their previous email communication, and I want to see what they're about. The subject line. In general, we tend to say that the subject line should be engaging, entertaining, and informative. It should offer some sort of value. It could be short and long. It could use emojis, personalization. Actually, emojis and personalization, these are the things that usually correlate with better opens. This is what the data from the email marketing benchmarks report tell us. But there are different strategies on what works best for the subject lines. So you have to know yourself what your audience is most interested in. We'll look at a couple of examples in a moment, but let's move to the third element, which is the pre-header. Pre-header is something that appears next to the subject line. So it should build up on what you've actually said in the subject line. It should give that extra punch that you towards what you've said. It doesn't have to be exactly the same thing, like repetition, but it should just build up on what you've already mentioned, and maybe some additional benefits of opening the email, what the offer is about. So this email itself, there's still time to get $25 off, a gift for that. The subject line is very short, but immediately tells you the value that's inside of the email. And then in the pre-header, you can see, give the gift of great sleep this Father's Day, It's intriguing. You don't know exactly what's it about unless you know what Casper actually sells. They sell mattresses and different gear for bedding. So you can imagine what's it going to be about, but it's not specific yet. So it's interesting. So you're going to open up this email. Let's look at another example. This is something that I've also found in my inbox. The subject line, the from name is Emilia from User Pilot. We don't exactly know the full name here. I know Emilia from User Pilot, so this is probably her. I know the brand, so immediately I check out the subject line because I know I can trust them. The subject line, it says it's tomorrow, and an emoji, party emoji. Okay, all caps isn't necessarily the best strategy. This tends to be associated with spam emails, but again, if they've got good reputation, you can see that this brand is something that you can trust, then you're not going to be that much bothered by the all caps here. So we can see this is something exciting, something's happening just in a moment. Let's look at the pre-header. Google, Atlassian, PayPal, Hotjar, plus 20 more will be there. Okay, this is some good authority there. They're using big brands that I definitely know, Google, Atlassian, PayPal, etc. So whatever is happening tomorrow, I will definitely want to know because I might be missing out on something. I might want to see what others are joining in for. So this is a very good example of a short subject line that's using emojis, etc. But it doesn't really matter what elements they're using. It just works together. So let's compare it to a different example over here. We've got event marketer and the subject line and the pre-header. The virtual event on. Virtual event is now on, and then again the same repetition. I would say this is not necessarily a bad example. It's just a missed opportunity. So I don't know exactly what this email is about, except for that it's about virtual events. But you're just seeing the same message over and over again. It's not exciting. It's not something that you want to immediately open. Unless I knew that there's some event I was looking forward to, I would probably open that email. But if I don't know what it is about, if I haven't been looking forward to an event that they were promoting, then I wouldn't probably be bothered and I would probably skip that email. Okay, there are a couple more, well, actually a few more elements that play a role when it comes to building the open rates or getting your emails open. This is the placement in the tabs and folders. So whether your emails actually get delivered and where they appear. Is it the inbox or is it the primary tab or is it the promotional tab? So yeah, it doesn't necessarily, it's not about the email design itself. It is partly, but it does affect your open rates, whether people will actually open your messages. The timing and your mailing frequency, again, if you send it in the middle of the night and they don't normally open their emails at that time, this is going to affect your open rates. And your email might be the most beautiful, most stunning, best template that you design, but they will not see it if it's going to be at a bad time. Mailing frequency, again, if you send too many emails, they might just ignore it, even though if you've got a great subject line or a good design. And previous experience with your communication, this is something that is very hard to measure, but we tend to see better results with marketers that actually have good campaigns. It's not necessarily something that they're doing, it's just that they're consistent and that their emails are always good quality. So people actually want to read their emails. There are two resources that I'd like to recommend to you. It's the ebook by Joanna Lee on how to write newsletters that get opened, read, and clicked. This is a good quality content that will help you focus on copywriting. I'm not a copywriting expert myself. We always work on our copy and test it with our colleagues. But I think it's best if you look for this ebook and read the copywriting tactics and tricks that you can use to make your subject lines better, and then you will have to test them to see if they resonate with your audience. And then a second ebook that I'd like to recommend is the Email Delivery Checklist. This is something that will help you get your emails delivered to the promotional tab, not the spam folder, or the inbox, not the spam folder. So if your email actually gets delivered, you can start optimizing your design and make sure that it looks good and it performs well. So let's move on to the second element, is getting people to read your email. We got it to open, then we got them to open it. Now let's get them to read it. So this part is actually mostly about the impression that they have once they open the email. And let's look at these two examples over here on your screen. Does that leave you with a good impression? The left one is actually an email with frames, images, but no alt text, no copy, nothing. If my images aren't loaded, the HTML code isn't loaded, and actually this is the case with my Gmail, this is the case with my Outlook, the company email address that I'm using in Outlook. So this doesn't necessarily give me a good impression, and to be honest, if I didn't know the brand too well, I would probably not load the images because there's no value in it for me, it's just effort. Then second email is exactly the same. We've got the subject line, we've got the logo of the company, but then all the copy that you can see here, or hardly you can see, but it's just the footer and the unsubscribe link. Let's compare that to a good example, in my opinion, that looks good before you open it, before you load the images, and after you load the images. Again, Casper here just turns out that they send out good emails. So the example on the left is the same email that you can see on the right just after you download the images. You can straight away see what the offer is about. It's about the gift for the dad. The styling is the same, the CTA is the same. The main offer is actually communicated, even though the images aren't there. So the thing is, what they did is they didn't base their email only on images. They've provided the copy, they've written the copy in text, rather than just place it on images. I know that designing that might seem more difficult because it's easier to just get a good image from your designer and just place it in the email. But trust me, this is the better way to do it. And even if you have a big image in your emails, just provide alt text there so people at least know what it's about and have some incentive to open it. Okay. Another tactic that you can do is, like, if your images are loaded, how do you get people to make your email actually read? How do you get people to read your email? So two things that you can see over here is making sure that the above the fold contains the most important elements, most important information, and actually entices people to scroll down. So here, an example from Huckberry. Their main offer here is at the top, last day for Father's Day shipping, and some image over here. I'm not exactly sure what it is. If you recognize this logo, you'll probably know what it is about. These are lobster rolls, but if I didn't know what it is, and that was the case for me, then I would probably scroll down just to make sure, like, okay, what this is about, how is it related to Father's Day? And I would know that later on that this offer is perfect for my dad. Then this email from Exploding Kittens, it's a different strategy, but you can tell that this is going to be interesting. Hey, there's something you should know. You immediately want to scroll down. It's just, it's like a comic book. You just want to scroll down, know what it is about. Their emails tend to be very long, but you just keep scrolling to see what's hidden underneath. The last thing that I want to show you in this part is, again, Casper does that, but there are a few brands that are using this above the fold section to provide the most important element of their offer. Is this box over here. It's even above their main offer, but this is like the unique selling point, which says enjoy free shipping plus returns, and it doesn't take a lot of time, a lot of space. It's above the main offer, above the CTA as well, but still it just immediately catches your attention. It's in a contrasting color, opposite to the main header, and it just immediately communicates what it is about. If you haven't actually mentioned this in the subject line or the pre-header, this is going to be perfect. And a lot of e-commerce brands are actually using this section for that. Okay, so we've got people to open our emails to read them. Now let's make them click. So we'll have more examples from e-commerce here, because e-commerce are usually the most interested in getting clicks and getting sales. So one of the strategies that you can follow is to make sure that there's a CTA button, the Shop Now, for example, here, and Shop Now in the above the fold section. Like I said with the previous examples, you want to make sure that that you immediately deliver a punch so that people can quickly decide whether they want to read your offer and go to your website. And arguably, in many cases in e-commerce business as well, or especially in e-commerce, you don't want people to read the entire email or keep scrolling through it. Some people just prefer to click on the button and go to the dedicated landing page where you have all the products that are in this offer, so that they can see it on your website. You don't want them to buy, to go through the email too long, because you want them to be on your website. You want to track them there. You want to be able to retarget them later on. So have this CTA at the top. And what's interesting, even in our emails, when it comes to content communication, we can see that plenty of people click on the logo at the top. So you can see that people sometimes just prefer to click on the logo and go to your website to read the content there. So I would say for e-commerce brands, make sure that this logo is also linked. Sometimes whether you want to link it to your main offer or to your homepage, it's your decision. But I would definitely make sure that this is linked, because people will be clicking in the top link. Okay, second thing that I want to focus on is the white space, the spacing around your buttons. Let's look at this example over here. This is from Cat. They sell shoes, and again, it's for Father's Day sale. Some fresh examples. So if you open this on a mobile phone, you immediately are able to see what the offer is about, but most importantly, you can click on the buttons. You have a huge image of the shoe that they're selling, of the product that they're selling. You have some information about it, the price that apparently was, the shoes were on before, and now the new price. So you have actually anchored them with the previous price. You can see, like, now that they can see that the new price is much better, it's better value. There's a huge button later on that they can click. I would say even here, there's not enough white space. I would add some more, like over here. The comparison here is an email from university. It's an interesting email. It's got very good offers. I would say very interesting articles, but clicking on those links over here would be very difficult. And this is a screenshot from my phone. So even if I was a very dedicated subscriber, recipient that opens up all their emails, it would be very hard for me to go through all the content. So just make sure that it's easy, that the offer stands out, and the buttons are very, very big. When I say very big, I don't mean that they have to take away the whole page, but at the same time, you'll see in a moment that you can play around and use different things. Another thing that you can do is actually provide some urgency. For example, here, this brand used a timer next to the call to action button, and this timer counts down towards a special moment where this offer is out and this offer is no longer on the table. And this, you can easily add it to your email, and it's something that if someone opens an email, sees that the offer is going to run out in a couple of hours, they might actually respond more sooner, and they might just do it right away rather than leave the email for later. Here, this brand, MeUndies, is using social proof from Instagram, comments from Instagram. This is something also that can help. Think of the buttons as something that people might be hesitant towards. They might not want to click on them. So if you place some social proof around them or underneath them, you might actually go over and reduce those roadblocks that might be stopping them from clicking. And last but not least, you can play around with your designs. You can make your CTA buttons stand out. Like Exploding Kid is an example over here, extra large learn more button. I remember Cards Against Humanity used the same tactic, a massive button that just stands out. People will be clicking on it, but I'm not saying that everyone should do it. You just need to know your audience and who they are, how they're opening your emails. But I would imagine this button will work very well. I wouldn't use it necessarily in our communication, but if your brand has a humoristic side to it and your audience would react positively to it, why not try something like this? Also, notice the copy here. It's not just learn more, it's something more descriptive. And often marketers play around with the copy. They make it more specific rather than buy now, shop now. You can play around with the copy and try to be more specific toward what people will see after they click the button. I don't necessarily have the data to show you that this is going to work, but this is what I'd like to recommend to you. Test it out for yourself, and just send out an email with the generic CTA copy as opposed to a more descriptive one. And I can imagine that you'll have better results if you play around and test a few things. Okay, so this is all for me. I'm going to pass on the microphone for Abby now, who's going to be building an email from scratch right in front of you.
Hello, everyone. You all are absolute heroes, those of you who are still with us. This is the absolute adventure of online events. So for those of you who stuck around, we are eternally grateful. And for anyone who had to leave, of course, totally get it. But that is the adventure of online events. I have hosted hundreds and hundreds of webinars with GetResponse, and I have to say, 99.9% of the time, it's a most beautiful, seamless event. But from time to time, internet things happen. So again, my ultimate thank you all for sticking with us, and to my amazing colleagues, Tom and Michael, for sticking with us and giving you guys some interesting, Q&A little previews while we did this. So I'm going to do the unthinkable and try to take this a step further and share my screen and actually see if we'll be able to show you, as we promised, how to build an email from scratch, because we are super excited to do this. Actually, something I forgot about, I was going to show you before I shared my screen, just because I don't want to do that, is we did actually want to talk about quickly what not to do. Which is, a lot of us can think about this. So you may have seen this in some of our promotional mailings and some of our kind of promotional activity leading up to this webinar. Was you saw maybe kind of a funny little GIF about what not to do, that, maybe you've seen things like this kind of make their way to your inbox. And, it happens. I think we all, have, not everyone, is a graphic designer who just has this amazing eye for design. And so there are some things you do want to actually kind of really try to keep in mind whenever you're designing your email, and, what not to do. So I think this is kind of hopefully an interesting example that you'll be able to kind of reference back to, maybe if you, when designing your own emails, things to try and avoid. So you can see here some writing around here about what's not so great. So for example, the yellow is a bit too bright, and, some of the colors don't actually complement each other, and the spacing makes it really difficult to read, and the image is low quality. So these are just general things that kind of just happen whenever maybe you don't have as much experience and you just kind of start building an email without knowing exactly, how to make sure that your fonts look good together or your colors look good together, and that your spacing and formatting makes your email easy to read, and therefore, much more clickable, much more, enticing for your subscribers to take the next step forward. So this is what we're going to try and actually avoid when building an email from scratch. So as promised, here we go again, to actually try to share our screen. Just in case anything ever happened, we always have a backup plan here. So I spent a few minutes today actually building this email from scratch, exactly like I am hoping to still do today, but no matter what, we will make sure you all see a step-by-step video for being able to, how to build this email from scratch, and you will get it tomorrow without any doubts. So if the internet friends do not come, yay, you should see the smiles in the room. We've got thumbs up. It's like, the space landing. Okay, so yeah, and you guys are with us, exactly. I'm so pumped to see us. So again, you guys are amazing. So here is the template I am certainly hoping we are about to build together today. So this is going to be a super simple design, but I think it, has a really clear, well-formatted view. And if you see me looking away, it's because I've got two screens going right now. And so hopefully I'll be able to keep an eye on both you guys and what's going on this screen where I'm building the email. But with that said, I might actually go ahead and disable my video so I don't tempt the fates with my internet connection, with that said. And so now I'm going to be in the GetResponse platform and building an email. So I'm going to actually start totally from scratch as promised, and we are going to see how to create this email that we just saw. And so we're going over to blank templates, and we are starting from scratch. So here we go. So we've got the email editor loaded. I can zoom in just a little bit if that would help you all see a little bit more clearly. And so now what I'm going to do is start from the top section, and you're going to notice a pattern as I move forward with this email design, is that there's a lot to do with spacing. Spacing has a lot to do with the way your email looks and the way all of your different sections of your email come together. So you're going to see me spend a little bit of time here actually playing with the different padding and spacing elements in my different sections, if you can see here. So this is a really big part. That actually comes with email designs. It's not super exciting, actually, always to think about padding and spacing, but it has a lot to do with the whole comprehensive look of your email. So I'm going to actually now, so that was me editing this section. So I had the section selected, and all I did here was change the padding. Now I want to actually select this header element that's inside of my section and play around with these elements here. And so I'm going to actually edit this view online link. I want to keep this on, the view online. I think it's certainly an important part of your emails, but I want to go ahead and change the font of this. And I've gone ahead and now, oh, actually it's not here yet. I thought I'd already added this font, but I'm glad I hadn't, because I can actually show you what it's like to add a Google font into the email creator that you can then use in your emails. And this is also something I have here. Maybe we can share the links with you later on. But there's lots of helpful resources out there about how to find different font combinations that look good together with Google Fonts. So there's like Font Pair, different websites that have nice font designs. So we can share the links with you to actually help you know how to pick fonts that look good together, because that's what I'm going to be doing, using 2 different fonts. So the first one is this Sen right here. And so now I just want to change the color. So I'm just going to go here and actually change it. I happen to know the color code. So it's just a pretty simple gray here. I'm going to remove the underline. I think it's a little distracting in this case. And then I'm going to center it. And now I need to actually change the link padding itself. So the spacing of this view online. Link in my email. And here we go. Okay. And okay, so some good spacing here. Now I just need to add my own logo. So we'll just go back to the header section and just simply upload my logo. So I've recently uploaded this myself, but of course this would be your own logo image that you see here in the header. This is a pretty standard. So Michal, remember, was mentioning the importance of using the logos and maybe adding the alt text and certainly hyperlinking it to your website or a particular page that you want to make sure that people go to. But I want to reduce my spacing, the size of this a little bit here, this logo, just so it'll fit a little bit better in my header section. Okay, cool. So that's going to be my general header. So all is good there. We can move on down the line and actually add an additional element to this next section. So the section underneath, I need to go back and edit the spacing on this one again. So you'll see it starts with spacing and padding of sections. So I just need to add that here. And soon you will very soon see why I'm so concerned about all my spacing. I can drop over a text block into that section now. And now I can just quickly type the first bit of text I know is actually in my email. So remember, this is kind of what I'm going for here. So I start typing the first couple of words that I know are in the top line. And now I want to use my second font. So I need to add another custom font. And this one I happen to know is called Oswald. There it is. So I'll add that font. And let's try bold. Let's make it big. And we'll go for 52 size font and let's center it. And now something I can do that helps save a little bit of time. Whoops, I almost forgot one important thing, which is my padding. My most favorite element of email design is padding. Cool. And now I'm ready to actually duplicate this because I know I've got a 2-line headline. And now I'll just type my second word for my headline. Now it's a good time to actually go ahead and check out the preview of the mobile version of my email. Because before I actually design my whole entire email, I want to make sure that I am checking out the mobile version so I can catch things like this before I'm completely finished with my design. And I can see, something's not exactly right here. My word is actually, broken up and that doesn't look super good. So now I can actually fix that by going back to the padding of the section itself and reducing it just a bit. And then probably I should make my font just a little bit smaller. So let's go like down 1 size. And then just quickly go back to the mobile preview and just verify if we've kind of remedied that. So cool, that looks super nice, both on the desktop and the mobile version. So I feel super good about going back to my next section. So we've got that. And so now I'm going to actually add an additional section underneath that, another 1-column section underneath my text here. And you probably know where I'm going. I'm going to padding. And I'm going to remove all spacing around that section. Now what I'm ready to do, this is the fun part, is adding an image into the section. And now I want to go ahead and upload the image that you've seen. So just like a stock photo image I found. And so that's looking good. So just a high quality stock photo image that I know that I can use. And now what I want to do is actually do the fun part of making my other header section match exactly this yellow of my image. So this is kind of a cool thing to do. So there's this cool tool, like an image color picker that's online. And I uploaded my image into this and then actually found like a dominant color that I wanted to have for my whole header. So I have the color code right here that's available from this kind of color picker tool that, this is something our graphic designer actually introduced me to. And so now what I can do is go back to this section of my header and update the background color. So I just need to go here, I forgot to copy it, and go to the background color of the section itself. So not the text block background, but the background actually of the section. And update, so add more colors and just add this in and click apply. Wow, it's looking good already. And I think just a couple more things now. So now I'm going to use a couple, you'll see me using this a lot, is this spacer element, just to add a little bit more space between the different elements in my sections themselves. And so I want to actually add it right here above my text. And I can just make it to be, let's say like around 50, I think is a pretty good size. So kind of between the logo and my header text gives a little bit more, this is not exactly white space. It's certainly yellow, but it's kind of serving the same purpose as whenever you say white space. And now I want to actually add my button. So this is a super important above the fold element, like Michael was talking about earlier. So actually leading people further through your website, not always necessarily keeping them going, all the way through your email, if that's not the goal of your email. And so now I'm going to actually just format my button a little bit. In this design, I think it looks better as a square, so the square shape. And then I just want to update the color to be black. That kind of matches my color scheme here. I'm going to go into the advanced settings and play with, you guessed it, padding. But I'm going to add this to be 0, just removing the spacing there. And now I just want to change the size just a little bit to make it, you can see it looks a little bit small, I think, for this header section. So I'm going to change the spacing here. The size, just to make it look a bit bigger and, stand out a bit more. And now we can actually play a little bit with the button text itself. So I'm going to use this send. So the one that I use for the view online link, I'd like to actually use, whoops, I almost knocked my computer down. I'm going to actually use a send as the text, the same as the view online. I think I can make this bold. And then I can just change the text here to be like, whatever your CTA is. So, learn more, visit my website, buy now, whatever's going to actually lead people to take the next step that you want them to take. And it just looks like the button's a little bit too close to the headline itself. So we just need to add a spacer between the actual text here and the button. The spacer element's super handy to help you create that kind of white space, that empty space around your elements. So that's cool. I think it's looking pretty good. That looks like what we're going for. So now we can actually move forward with another section underneath my image. So another new 1-column section underneath the image itself. So let me just tuck that in here. Oops. This is some of the fun part. So let me just move it down. So just hang with me. I've got my screen a little bit too big here. Zoom out. Cool. When somebody watches you, it's always harder than when you're doing it on your own. Cool. Just a sec. There we go. We're back in business now. And let me zoom back in. Cool. That's easier now. Okay. So we're moving on into the text area of our email. So I'm going to go down to the padding for this one and actually change the padding for this new section we've got. Again here. Okie dokie. Now I'm going to drag over a text block into this section itself. So drop over the text. And I can see here that this was like, so of course you want to have your text that, you want to actually write or say. You can have it handy. You can, of course, type it, straight into the message itself. However, you're most comfortable actually drafting out your emails. Now we need to format this text. And so what we can do here is make it actually that Oswald font that I added earlier. That's going to be kind of my header text, let's say. We're going to make this bold. I think about 26 would probably look pretty good. And now I just want to change the padding of the text itself just a little bit to make reduce the spacing basically around that. And I'm going to go back, and it's a little bit too close for me to the header image, so I'm just going to add a spacer between the image here and the rest, and that line of text. I think that's good, and probably maybe about 40, let's say. Okay, that looks pretty good. And now what I can do, since I've done this formatting, I can duplicate this line of text again. And I think what I can do is actually just go ahead and start formatting this a little bit. So make it maybe smaller, like 14. I can change it to the body text I want, which is that sin. And then slightly change the color up here to make it just like a little bit less dark. So I have this color, pretty handy. So just a little bit less dark. And I'm going to unbold that as well, I think. Yeah, it's a little bit easier to read. And then what I'll do, I'll just have this, I have this little bit of text handy. So I can just actually go ahead and paste that in, and it'll honor that same formatting that I've already given here. But it's still like kind of a little bit, too close together maybe. So I think what I'll do is actually change the line spacing for the text to be this one. So it's just like a little bit, less close together for the lines. And then my next little favorite tool is actually a little bit more of a spacer between those two text blocks, I think. Just about 20, I think, is pretty good. And then let's add a little bit more space for myself underneath this one. And let's make this one be about 40, let's say. Okay, so here's our first little bit, our little introductory section of text, which looks good. Now what I can do is actually duplicate this entire section. So this is cool. Once you actually have a section looking really good, or any particular element, if you see this right here, you can actually save this section as a block, basically. So you can see my block. So you could save it as what's called a block, essentially, to make it so you don't have to kind of go through that again if this is a formatting that you'd like to do again and again. You can just save things as a block. So now what I'm going to do with this new section I've just added is actually change the background color of the section itself, because I want it to stand out just a little bit as, kind of like a, navigational element, let's say, within my email. So I have this kind of light gray color handy. And so this is going to make it kind of stand out, give a little bit of organization. And now I just want to copy over this text, because you can see the same formatting actually in this header example, but it's just, different font. So just to save myself a little bit of time, I'm just going to do that in. And I think what I'll do is yet again add another spacer element here, just between the headline and that top section of my new gray background, just to give a little bit more space between those. And what I want to do now is actually go ahead and add something that looks kind of like, it's bullet points without the bullets, basically, or, a numbered list, just something, important tips or things that you want to make sure everyone knows about. So what I can actually do is just type in what it is I want. So like example 1, for example. Then I can just duplicate this 2 times, and however many bullets or points that you're making. That saves a little bit of time. And I want to add just a little bit of space. This is kind of getting a little bit nitpicky, but I think sometimes it's worth it. And this is a super good example of once you've kind of gone through this effort to be able to kind of create a bulleted list or something like that you really like and you'll use in lots of instances, to save this section actually as that my block, so that it's super, oops, see, I clicked my block because I was thinking about it instead of duplicating it. So there, let me move it over. And I've got 2 example 2s, example 3. So this is well designed, it's well laid out. If there was, some important tips you needed to show, now I would save this, for example, as a block that I can use again and again in future emails and change the text in it, and it would save me a lot of time. And now I think it's probably high time to actually check out our mobile preview again, just to make sure everything's looking okay. Oh, and you can see I missed something here. I think probably my block. One of my paddings or spacings didn't work out, which is good. We saw that. Oh, it's because of this one. See? Good to check and scroll back up, because it was that one block I forgot to remove earlier. So it's good that you actually go back, because otherwise you'll just keep going back and forth. There we go. That's what I like to see. So it's good. It forces you to scroll back up, because I'm just going down, down, down. Cool. So just a couple more sections. So we're going to duplicate this first section again to actually get us now to this final kind of ending conclusion of our email. So I'm going to duplicate the first one and then drag this section up between the two of them. And I can actually go ahead and update just one more time with this final kind of headline for this paragraph, let's say. So just, it has the same formatting. So all I have to do is just copy it in. And I think probably what I see now is I need a little bit more space between, just like the other element. I need just a little bit, and I think even 20 is super good here as well, like the other section was. And then I can paste in the body copy, that let them know what's next. So it's up to you how you'd like to keep your text handy. Write it somewhere else first, or just type it straight into your email. And just one more section to go, which is at the bottom here, where this is a very handy section that probably you could just again save to use it again and again in your emails. So I want to actually go down with this one. Again, I think I'm too zoomed in to do my handy dragging and dropping. Almost there. Cool. So I can zoom back in now. And one more time with my padding for the section itself. I want to reduce all of it. And now I'm going to use this cool divider section, just kind of add a little bit more organization to the email. So kind of separate this section a little bit from the rest. And I'm going to change the color just so it's not so dark. I'm just like a bit of a middle to light gray. And I'll change the padding just a little bit here so my spacing looks better. Okay, that will be good. And now I want to add the social media icons. This is a handy one as well. These look super good, so that you can see, you can easily add your own hyperlink to your own social media profiles here. Change out the styles and the icons, the alignment, but these actually look quite good, I think, actually here. And I want to actually reduce the space here just a little bit. It's a little bit too much space between the text and the divider. But I think that's looking pretty good. So let's go back to our preview one more time and compare the two versions just to make sure everything looks good. So we can see, nice, mobile looks really well formatted. Good deal, that looks super good. So we can go back and, we can save. And now what you can do is, save this as your template. So what that means is you could use it again and again, all of this work that you went into the design, and be able to save it as a template and use it again and again, customize it and change it up. And so actually what we're going to do is be able to share this email design as a pre-designed template for all of you after this webinar. So you're actually going to see this. So I'm going to call this Abby's webinar template. And then if I just go ahead and save and exit and go back here, what you all will see hopefully tomorrow is this design I just made will be right here within your pre-designed templates. So you guys now know exactly how that was built, and we're going to publish it so you can use. But all of these pre-designed templates you see here were made by graphic designers with all of that work already done with your padding and formatting, and formatting the text and the spacing. And so now hopefully you understand a little bit more about customizing these templates by using complementary colors. There's a website that's like, for example, you can use this website that's recommended by our graphic designers as well to find colors that look good together. There's the font pairing you can as well, keep in mind. So tips like that are super helpful. And then the color picker tool, I don't think I'm too zoomed in, is what can help you do something like, that kind of cool little trick of making it match your header design even more so. So it is very close to being 1 hour because of that kind of, exciting adventure we all had together while trying to get this to go forward. So a huge thank you to all of you who stuck with us. That was an adventure, and I will make sure to knock on wood, in all future webinars, to not take it for granted. But I want to thank you all again for your amazing questions. We promise we will share a recording of this for you all tomorrow. So have no fear, you'll get it super straight away. So we're going to share the presentation, so you'll be able to see the slides that Michael shared, and then also we will share a video of the email build itself, so you can actually pause it, build the email with me maybe, and you can actually follow me through. And in case I, talk too fast, you can actually rewind me. So that should be super helpful. So thank you all again. We really, really appreciate your time and effort sticking with us today. And I hope wherever you are safe, healthy, and have a great rest of your day or evening. So we look forward to seeing you all at your next webinar.